Hi everybody, I'm Theresa Stirling and welcome to our live today. Feels great to be here, feels great to have you here. Per usual, I'm redlining right up until the final moment, and I think that just comes with being a business owner. So welcome all of our Sterling Membership Collective members. This is primarily who these lives are for. As promised, we're doing 2 or more a month. This is my 4th or 5th in a month, but I wanted to play catch up a little bit for all of our foundational members. So thank you for being here. The Theresa Stirling Art Studios membership, it's not necessarily for artists. It's a membership collective for those of us who want to plunge in and go deeper on a lot of different concepts as it relates to advanced art technique, running a business, starting a business, branding, building quality luxury brands, and just a lot of the complexities. We also touch on, and we will today, topics such as how to trust the process. And that really applies in everything. And over time, I've been at the art practice now for over 20 years. I realized that my life is a combination of my art, my creativity, my lifestyle, my values, my ethos, the way I live my life. I cook the way I paint. I do sports in a fearless way, the same way that I show up in the studio. I'm starting to find there's a real comfort and lots of possibility in having the intersection of those. And I relate to everybody who feels as though they are right at the intersection of, or kind of walking the edge of, showing up and doing the hard work and also trusting. It's a fine line. Anyway, welcome. It's great to have you here. We're just going to keep it short and sweet today. Not too short that you don't pick up some tips, but I want to do some advanced painting tips. I'm working on a large photo encaustic piece. A bit about me, I've been doing encaustic art specifically for over 20 years. I was not an artist growing up. I wasn't artistic as a young adult. Made a later in life career transition. I am the youngest of 6. I was the first of 6 to go to a 4-year university. I studied economics. I had a wonderful and long storied career in biotech marketing. And at one point, I started to get stirrings of I wanted to do things for more the right feelings instead of the right reasons. I was less enchanted with the corporate treadmill, the shuffle, the churn. You know, you're only as good as your numbers this week or this month. So I made a considered, slow, stepwise transition over to art full time. Never looked back. I'm really loving it. It takes a lot of work. I mean, around the clock work to run an art business. It's not that I have more talent than anyone. I probably just work harder than some, and I have marketing down pretty well. So for those of you who haven't checked out our collective, definitely pop into nextlevelwiththeresastirling.com. We also just put all of our online courses at the most crazy discounted investment rate at $49 a piece. That's US dollars. Make the investment in you. It's not necessarily in me, it's in you. Some of those courses have over 3 to 3.5 hours of content. We touch on all things, art technique, encaustics, working large, working photo encaustics. We did a retreat, so you get to watch a recap of that. We do complex art shipping, which is a whole other volume. We talk about building a business and a brand, so be sure to check those out. If you have time, spring is a wonderful time to flourish and learn cool new things. You can watch them, you can re-watch them at your leisure. Anyway, that's how I got into art. And no one really taught me. I'm kind of self-taught. I've definitely sought instruction from some of the best around the Northwest. And I've put in my time. I mean, I've done art intensives at Pratt Fine Arts in Seattle. Great institution. I've learned from some superstars in encaustic art. But you know the old adage, it's not where you take it from, it's where you take it to. And that applies to art, it applies to life, it applies to music. That's where I'm at. I'm working on a large buffalo bison encaustic piece of art. It is a photo encaustic, which simply means there is an image at the base of that. And a lot of those things are explained in our courses if you are interested in photo encaustic. But that's what I'm working on today. And what I'm specifically working on is fixing some things that I went too far out over my own skis. I hesitate to call them mistakes just because now I'm of the mindset that there really are no mistakes. There really are not that many coincidences. It just so happened that I got too dark in some areas on this piece and it obscured my ability to kind of see closely what's below. So together we're going to work on cleaning up my messes in aisle 3, as I say when I'm playing pickleball, which I like to do. But we're also going to talk a little bit. And again, it's only going to be 20 to 30 minutes here today. But I just want to kind of get you more comfortable with who I am and that I show up regularly, which is really key for me and the life I lead and the work I do. And we're going to trust the process. Um, I think the process on this one was that I was busy focusing on other things. I was focusing on other people's art commissions, focusing on the mayhem that is my life on the daily, self-created, of course, mayhem. But, I mean, I'm juggling oftentimes a lot of plates, as I know all of you are, and I'm dropping many of them. So in the process, I got a little lost. This particular piece, I want it to be loose, focus, more abstract than the others I've done. I would almost call it nature deconstructed. And you know what? I forgot to put on my little microphone. You'll be able to hear me in a cleaner way if I do that. My apologies. Let me do that real quick. It just shows you what happens when I'm redlining. Anyway, I got this cool little furry microphone and I think it's adorable, but it also does keep the sound a little bit more clean. Is that I'm going to, with you, warm up some areas, which then allows me to scrape off the areas that didn't work so well. I hope this sounds better. Let me know in the chat. By the way, thanks to any of you that are joining us, watching, working, watching, whatever you're doing. And then if you're tuning in a little bit later, thank you so much for being here. It just means the world to me. I am getting used to long format on YouTube. Never done it before. I've never really had a reason to do it. Let me just check that plugin. I like shorts, but I'm really digging long format because we can get deeper. We can talk about stuff that's substantive and matters. All right, so we're going to warm up an area right here. This is my little flannel shirt is basically my apron today. I'm getting some extra gloves when working with sticky stuff, fire and wax. It's always essential. And these lives presume that you already have some interest in creativity, but like I said, we're also talking about life-related things. How do we trust the process is kind of our topic today. We're going to fix something on here, and we're going to also accept that they're really not mistakes. They're just part of the path. So in doing so, I'll start by warming up some areas, scraping them. We started this a little bit when we were together last, and then I'm going to take this a little bit further. And I might put on one more layer just because I lean over the table so much that it helps keep all the things wax free. Nothing like a chef's apron to get you by. So I like this small Iwatani torch. It's really cool. You get a large area heated up in a short period of time. I think it's really helpful. I have also a couple of reference images that I often work from, especially with photo encaustic as I'm paying attention to things. And I'm just grabbing a couple more tools. So I'll warm up an area so as not to compete with the sound. These areas right here, just got way too dark. This got too dark. I've lost the eyes. I've lost the jawbones. I've lost everything. So we're going to try. Let me get one that's quicker to fire. Got to work on that one. All right, here we go. And I'm just slowly fusing, as we call it. And then I'll scrape a couple of the top layers away, which is truly one of the benefits of encaustic art. Keep in mind too that I'm not scraping away everything. I'm leaving some stuff because my goal with this piece is that it's very soft focus and doesn't look perfect. I've really moved away from wanting art pieces to turn out looking so tight lines and perfect that it looks like a photograph. To me, that's not as engaging or interesting. I like to see a human energy and hand in there, and that's the work that I put out into the world myself. And it also allows for a lot of expression within the piece itself. It allows for freedom. So yeah, and I think that's our segue today, just for a few minutes to touch on how do you trust the process and the timing. As I said earlier, we are all essentially walking that edge of doing the hard work and doing it with faith. Sometimes the faith feels blind, and this applies to all of our pursuits, whether they're creative pursuits, whether they are in business, if they're in relationships. And that doesn't mean love relationships, it means just relationships with people. But certainly love applies too. Just having the faith that the effort and the constancy to purpose that we show up with matters. Just think about the times in your life where something's happened and you went, oh, what a total coincidence. I did all that hard work and then I go to an event and I meet someone who offers that exact service. It might be roofing, it might be exterior painting. Turns out this person has a great reputation. I just can't believe how much time that just saved me. That is trusting the process. You've already laid foundational work. And then you're just putting together the parts and the pieces. When you see them, you jump, you recognize it as such. And I think recognizing it is part of what we're talking about, truly. Keep the flame just at a whisper. Still just moving some color out of here. Taking care to leave some. So I see where my former tracks were, because my former wax tracks are definitely a part of the piece. I have to kind of do some gentle scraping just to get back to where I want to be. And that's part of this piece process. I've kind of been putting it off, so it's a good excuse to do it with you all in a live, because sometimes work's more fun when you're teaching it, keeps it more fresh. It has for me. I mean, I certainly enjoy my solitude when I'm working, or having someone I'm close to just hanging out. But this is just something I've known I wanted to get out here and do. I'm refining things is all, and that's okay. Good with it. I think ultimately, whatever we're doing shows up a little better if we go back and we do it in layers. We refine it. We're not trying to rush it. We're not trying to just score all the points in the first couple of innings. We're just kind of letting it play out, and that's what we're talking about today, is trusting the process. And it takes courage to go to have your mind go beyond that which the heart can see. Why am I doing all this work? Why am I doing all this late night at my computer? The marketing, building the business, having faith that I'll get projects. I've asked myself that countless times. Is it all worth it? When I get cool projects, I just sit and I have some thoughtful time and I think it's always all worth it. course it is. It's worth it. Yeah, I've taken lots of trips and paid for the airline miles for marketing and stuff. Sometimes you go, is it really all worth it? There's a lot of no's. There's a lot of yeses. There's a lot of maybes. I would assert not dwelling on the no's and the maybes and just seeing the possibility. Could become a yes. Could become a resounding yes. Or a hard no. Just means other doors are going to open. And I'm really accepting that more and more, and hope to encourage any of you watching this to consider the same. I mean, I think a really valid point is, yeah, trust the process, but nothing happens without the hard work. And I agree 1,000%. I do agree with that. Things don't just always fall out of the sky, or if they do, it's a lucky spate of coincidences for a while. But I don't know. I think putting in the hard work is your gateway to good things. Sometimes it just takes time. And, I've had important people in my life, including my late mom, who would always say, honey, just trust things are going to come around. You're going to get that work, or you're going to find the right answer, the right fit, the right in step that you want. She always trusted it. I mean, in later years, she told me my best years are ahead of me, and she could see it so clearly. Not that she had clairvoyance, she just understood life and how life has its undulations. We have our good times and our down times and our fallow times. So I'm good with all that. So as I look at this piece, it's a little cloudy, confusing, and that's okay. I definitely have some work to do here to get back to basics, baseline, and I guess that's why we're here together. I wish in these lives I was at a point where I could do a little bit more back and forth conversation with you, and we'll get there. For our membership collective, we'll be looking at those different venue formats. Either I figure it out on YouTube, which has a nice expanse and reach and is easy to log on to, or we'll do it on one of our learning platforms. So, but definitely type in any questions or any hellos, and just, let me know that you're tapping in and part of the conversations. I really enjoy it. I've enjoyed it so far. It's been a whole lot of fun, and having you guys join along is something I appreciate a lot. Look at that. It's kind of satisfying to scrape off these layers, just layer by layer. We're getting there. So then this is the important time in the art process where, one, I'm looking at it upside down. I wanted to give you a sense of it right side up from your perspective, but also I'm just trying to reestablish my lines, if you will. I'm looking at different features on the original that I'm going for, yet I'm not looking for an exact replica of this. But I just want to reestablish the lines, as they say in landscaping, reset the lines. So I think I'll probably start where the horns, these cool horns, live, where they are, get those redefined, and then start recognizing that. And looking at it upside down does help me tremendously. It's a little trick I use in studio all the time. I also put it upright after a certain number of layers. I think I have some lint on one of my contacts today. It looks like I'm blinking extra long on my left eye. And I also recognize that the camera on YouTube, and when I sometimes take photos, is reading in reverse. And I flipped around the mirror setting, and it's probably still in reverse, but I'm a right-handed artist. It really doesn't matter here. So behind me on hot plates, I have all the colors, more or less, that will help me start setting the lines on this piece again. And I think the whole thing I just wanted to show up and do was talk to you about just trust the process. I mean, it really, really works out ultimately. When a relationship, a love relationship goes south, it's the biggest bummer. You had hope, you had chemistry, you had all the things potentially, or just all those really good dreams and desires. And then if it goes south, you think, how am I going to survive this transition? This feels insurmountable. Or if someone tells you no on a really big, juicy project, truth is, sometimes it was fraught with a lot of minefields. It might, in the case of a project, it might have been a lot of headaches with the people who were in the middle. Turmoil or confusion that awaited should you have stayed that course. So trust me, trust the process. When you're building a business, trust the timing. Just trust it. Put in the hard work. Go after the killer website. Be willing to pay to play. Go after the print materials, really sit down and make those things what you really want. Harder, it's more expensive, it's costly, it costs your time and your resources, but it usually garners better outcomes. So trust that process. It's the dividends up front. It's the same thing in art, you know. Is it worth it for me to go back and kind of clean up, some of the errors that I'm saying that doesn't look that great? The end result's not going to be that great. It's worth it. Trust the process. Going back, cleaning up, resetting, reestablishing these things. These are good things. So I like to toggle between what's showing up in this way in real life and what's presenting in the studio. And I would ask any of you, share with us in comments or drop us a note, excuse me, in studio and just say, how has trusting the process worked for you? I talked to one person who said they're a 24-hour caretaker for their spouse. How is this, process really working out? They want to trust it. And I'm saying that's harder than any human can endure. There is no doubt it'll just wear you out. Quite possibly for that person ahead, praying that their partner gets some rest and relief and comfort. Perhaps they will get a break. Perhaps they will get help. Perhaps they will have lots of time down the road, put their feet up, watch the sunsets, be thoughtful, recalibrate our energies, our health. There are very few non-renewable resources that we're living with. One is health, the other is time. And, how do you want to bank your sleep and all of that? I don't obsess about that stuff. I just really try to live the most engaged life I can while I'm here for such a short time and a really precious time. I feel like I try to elongate the days. I tend not to, you know, fritter away the day. If it's daylight and dry outside in the Northwest, we go. We're manic panic if the weather's nice. On the other hand, there's that, I think it was Lenin quote that said, no time wasted is wasted time. If you need to just flop on the couch all day Sunday or be under the covers deeply, do it. Trust the process and you will come back stronger than ever. No doubt about it. I believe it with all my heart. Trust the process that the reason you didn't go to that job in California and take it, or that university in Oregon or Michigan, just trust the process. Things are always working out for you. They're unfolding for you. And that's basic law of attraction 101. Typically, if you put in the work, you will get seeds of equal or greater corresponding value down the road. We used to have a little saying like that my dad put on the refrigerator. I don't know if it was from a fortune cookie or what, but every time I went to get the milk out or the mayonnaise or the cheese or whatever, I would see that And maybe it's just ingrained in me now, but I sure have lived my life that way. And I feel like every day is a blessing, and not to be Pollyanna-ish, but it plays out in the art too. So, all right. So we have some clarity back in this piece. And we'll show you guys a little trick. I don't know if it'll work right now, but here's a little trick. So in this box, I have some oil pastels. They're like little crayons. They're super cool. So the trick I have is where I can see my lines that I know are in the original photo and I want to adhere to somewhat. I go in there with one of these little oil sticks and I just lightly take like a mushroom color. It's not Snow White or anything like that, but I sort of reestablish where that line could be and go, because when I get in there and start fusing, this will get scraped out or melted away, or it will just get absorbed into the fusing process. But it kind of helps me just reestablish my lines, if that makes any sense. And then I look at my reference photo and say, okay, where do the shoulders start? And again, looking at it upside down is a little tip and trick for you. It helps me a ton. I learned it in an art class way back in high school. You focus less on what you think it should look like, and you focus more on the reference of what it actually does look like. And it helps tremendously. And then I look at the face and where kind of all these snow lines are on the bison's beard, and I kind of reestablish how that trajectory goes all the way down here. And I establish these lines, and then I'll go over it with some wax. So, and again, as I tell people for these lives and for our membership too, the membership collective, never ever perfect, always heart-centered. And that's really how I show up here. I show up that way when I'm solo in the studio. I'm going to be showing up that way with you guys always, just presenting as our best selves and just moving the needle forward, That's all we can do, really. Still just using my little chalk outliner. Really helps me see where to lift off with these dark colors and start filling them in. And then I can also loosely gauge some symmetry too. Did I go too far dark with that piece there? I think I did. I'm going to warm that up. Anyway, I hope I've covered kind of enough bases for us to be thinking some of these things in expansiveness. Trust the process. Everything is working out for you, even when it seems like it isn't. Everything's working out for you, and I mean that with all of my heart. I probably about 7 years ago ran across the teaching of Abraham Hicks, which they are no secret. They're a little woo for some. I totally get that. I'm not one to push stuff. I'm not a thought pusher in terms of either it fits for you or it doesn't. I'm not attached to it. But the premise of a lot of the Abraham Hicks teachings are based and founded on what's called the law of attraction. So the thoughts are that everything is always working out for you. And by the way, I'm taking some of these scrapings, and it's another little trick. You're getting a bunch of art advanced technique tricks today. I'm pushing them into what I know down the road I'm going to want, which is a textured kind of bits of fur on the back part of this bison's hump where you see it in the image. So I take the scrapings and I just push them into another area where it will fit. The teachings of Abraham Hicks are steeped in the laws of attraction, which again means whatever you put out into the world, you'll get back. And that's just karma, right? You guys You hear that called karma loosely, but that is what I'm basing today's chat with you on is just trust the process. It works out. Trust it in love, invest yourself, trust it in business, invest yourself, invest in yourself, in your belief. Passion, passion moves things. It moves products, it moves emotions. We all need passion to show up freely in our lives. Some of us have learned to repress it pretty well, but passion sells. It moves the needle. I mean, get into whatever you're getting into is what I would hope for all of us. Okay, I'm still struggling with how am I going to see this well? How is it showing up? I think we're getting there. It starts here, kind of goes down this way, setting up the symmetry again. Doesn't have to be perfect, of course. You got these cool curls and layers that radiate out, got the crazy fur. So fun. I love painting these. I've done an awful lot of these commissions. This one is very likely to stay in my own personal private collection. That's the idea with it. And I'm pretty happy about that. Not to say it couldn't find a buyer potentially, but kind of invested in keeping this one. And the reason why is I'm also working toward a new style for me. You can see it. It's kind of more loose and abstract. I call it deconstructed nature. Deconstructed nature. So that's where I'm going with it. I'll just show you a quick bit on how I will add some color in these areas where I started to create an entry point. Let's see. This is a good one. As is this. I'm over here at my hot plates. These are all, they've been cooking at a little over 200 degrees Fahrenheit. Some of them are still getting completely liquid. Doesn't bother me a lot if they're not completely liquid when I'm getting going or starting out. And the reason for that is I'm fine with it having some molten state in it. So I'm just going to start. And I like to put down the low lights first. And the way I cover these seams, someone asked on our last live, it's a good question. I just find the coordinating color that goes in that area, and I just start to put a little bit of an extra in the trough and paint over it. So with the layering that I do on every piece, which ends up being 12 to 22 or so layers of encaustics, which really is a labor of love, you don't end up seeing where the seams are. And most of my my surfaces have texture on them. So anyway, you get the idea. I'm just reestablishing, resetting the lines. I got to go back in there and dig out exactly where the eyes are. They're kind of buried in these pieces in general. But I'm going to set up where the jawline is again. And just having some fun. This piece will take me several weeks, just chipping away at it, finishing it. I generally work on multiples. I like to work on several pieces at once, keeps it fresh. So I'll have more. I do have more on the tables, and I'll be starting more very soon. I got to get those board orders in. Everything's on birch wood panel. So anyway, you guys, I think that's going to wrap up today's session. Trust the process, put in the hard work, be kind to people. You always get back what you put out there in the world. It's law of attraction. Let it play out for you in all your pursuits. Let it play out for you freely. You do a lot of things for other people, one assumes. Let them do things for you. It's amazing how wonderful it feels, how much they want to help you and return some of what you've given. And it's okay to just let people in on that. It feels really nice. I like it. So Anyway, I could do this all day, every day, and I'm glad I can. A lot of the time, when I'm working on projects, I definitely go all day, every day. So let me know again. Let us know what you're up to in the chat. If you would, please go to Next Level with theresastirling.com. Get on our mailing list. Check out those courses. I mean, really, they are an amazing price. You can learn a ton of information, hard-won tips and tricks from someone who's been doing it for over 20 years, me showing up. I put a lot of energy and resources and investment into the time to record those, the people, the professionals that splice the videos together for release and all of that. Really proud of the work and the material. And the idea is we're creating new already, and we'll be getting um, more runway ahead, prepped for releasing more material and deepening the membership. Do check out our membership collective. It's a great example of trust the process. We've already got people signing up, understanding the value of going deeper, asking these questions, and you know, where focus goes, energy flows, and the membership is a great example of that. So I'm just now, we are getting the word out about what that is, what you get. We go deeper on art technique. You don't have to be an artist. We talk about business, building brands, luxury brands, a deep appreciation of that and those that I have. You're in good company with people who are walking the edge of doing the hard work and trusting that it's all going somewhere. That's a fine balance. You know, it's not just about being entrepreneurs, it's about being the digital CEOs of our lives. Um, in one of our past live segments, I suggested people read the book Worthy by Jamie Kern Lima. I'm looking at it over there. It's a really good one. Woman who bootstrapped her cosmetics launch, purchase, and career. I mean, really gives you a lot of belief in the human spirit and tenacity and showing up. So anyway, I don't need to go longer today. You get the idea. We kind of course corrected. We fixed some things where I got too far out over my own skis, which I do often. That's part of living a highly engaged lifestyle. Sometimes I take some fantastic falls. They might be on the water, on a wakeboard, a paddleboard, or in the studio, or in life, or as a parent, or as a partner. And you know what? Here we are. I'm heart centered and I'm comfortable with that. I'm doing the hard work. So thanks for joining us. There will be more lives coming up. Keep an eye on the newsletters that we send out. Like I said, drop us a note if you have any questions. Become part of our membership collective. It's quite literally the price of a tall latte a month, and it's just rife with good material. So I think from here we'll sign off. These videos, for some reason, take a long, long time on YouTube's end to upload in the different formats that they have to do by regulations. I'm trying to figure that out. So in the meantime, just know I'm really touched that you were here today. And until next time, I'll see you guys again. All right. Bye-bye.